Prime IV Delray Beach helps you feel better, look better, and perform better with IV vitamin therapy. Each of our IV drips is the equivalent of 2.5 gallons of hydration and a custom blended mix of vitamins designed to help you reach your health goals. The top complaints we address are more energy, better sleep, sports recovery, meaning less soreness when you work out, or a great boost to your immune system. Come in if you're feeling under the weather or to help stave off those nasty bugs if someone's in your house and brought them home. Use the code word SWEET, SWEET, for 20% off any IV treatment now through the end of March 2024. Valid at the Delray Beach location only.
Hello, everybody. It's Andrea with Sweet and Spicy, and I'm here with Spicy Spice, who had a birthday. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
And your name is?
Carolina Rush, also known as Spicy.
And I like my new nickname for you, Spicy Spice. And we are here today with our resident expert on all things skincare, Miss Nancy Reagan, the First Lady of Skincare.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good, Nancy. How are you?
Happy belated birthday, Carolina.
I know,
Thank
right?
you.
We celebrated well, I think.
Oh my gosh,
last
it was
week.
probably the best one so far.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Very
for
good.
sure.
That's what we like to hear.
Yeah.
And today what we're going to be talking about with Nancy is a little bit about some skincare myths. We've talked some of this in the past, like in a little segment, but I think there's a lot of myths out there that we can kind of like say whether they're true or not. Do you want to go first with some of your list, or you want me to start?
You can start.
So one thing that I read recently that I was like, oh, that's interesting, is everybody thinks steam is good for your face.
Yes, they do, because they think pores are like doors. And pores are not like doors because they don't open and shut.
Right.
But people think that they do.
So that's a myth,
That's a
because
myth.
you think you steam your pores open and you can clean them out. Didn't you think that?
So all those times that I literally boiled water and put my face over it for like 5 minutes or whatever it was, I was doing nothing.
Well, what you were doing was actually softening the skin. So when the skin gets softened by the steam, there are other things that actually help along the way, but it's softened by the steam, so it allows the skin to be more pliable.
Okay.
So the steam is actually, because you're putting moisture into the skin from the steam, it's actually helping it become more pliable so that whatever you're trying to get out comes out easier. It's not necessarily
It's not opening them.
correct.
Okay.
I like that. Pores are not doors.
Yes.
That's funny.
Isn't that
We're
a
gonna use
great
that.
myth?
Yeah.
Like that everybody thinks that steam opens your pores up. Like I have a face steamer,
Yeah.
right? And you can hold your face over it.
I'm really more of a fan of really warm towels. The towel is more uniform, so it fits. Like you can, if you put it over the face, don't cover both the nose and the mouth. But
Right.
when you put it over the face, it's more uniform. And the steam, oftentimes, it can be hot in one area and not get the other area. So
Right.
the towel's more uniform for the whole face.
And I'm
So-
assuming real quick, people should use like cotton towels.
Preferably, please. The polyester is causing more chemical sensitivity.
Right.
So really sticking to
So like no microfiber.
no.
Right.
Well, the microfiber is a different. If you have microfiber, there are towels that they're 100% cotton, but they're created with a microfiber technique. But it's a specialty towel.
But you can find a microfiber cotton towel, but it's rare is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Okay. Just because I didn't know that. That's interesting. Okay.
So other than making it easier to get things out, is there any other benefits to steaming your face?
Well, you're putting hydration back into the face, and every day we lose moisture. And if you're not a big water drinker, because the body's 70% water, then putting the steam on the face is going to give you more of a hydrated, dewy look. So
Okay.
it is helping from that standpoint.
Is that something that you recommend daily?
There's other things that are going to bind moisture better than steaming. Hyaluronic serums, which
Right.
is a moisture binder, is going to do it better than steaming.
Okay.
Steaming just feels amazing
Right.
as a self-care.
Right.
It does feel amazing. I mean, that from that perspective, it's kind of nice. And when your skin is more moisturized, then you put on other products, it helps keep in more moisture if they're good products, right? So for me, it's like that benefit would be you can get like the serums and the cream to keep that moisture in that you're giving it from the steam or the hot towel, right?
Right.
Well, because if you're putting really good serums on top of dry skin, all you're doing is helping the dry skin absorb your serums instead of putting it on skin that is at least somewhat moisturized.
Oh, so that's another like little tip of you want the skin to be moisturized, so washed or like
Washed with something that's not going to
dry it out.
Yes, strip it all off.
Right.
No, don't wash it with soap and then think that it's going to suddenly plump up.
Right.
So
Awesome. I learned something.
Yeah, I like it.
You want to go on yours next?
Okay, so there was a list of myths. I know what you're going to say to the first one, but the first one is sunscreen is just for summer.
no.
I think that's pretty obvious.
Well, and definitely if some people think, it's not even for cold weather. And that's when we see the snow skiers get fried from the sun.
Right.
So you definitely need sunscreen all the time.
Okay.
Well, anywhere like the beach or the mountains with snow that you have that reflection, you're on a boat and everything's white, anywhere you have that reflection, you're just getting double because it's coming from the sun, but then it's bouncing right back at you. So that's why, because as a kid, we would get sunburned and you'd have the like raccoon eyes either from the glasses or the goggles. So you had to put sunscreen on. And I remember friends in like elementary school, they were super fair, right? And they got fried in the mountains in like winter.
Yeah.
So you have to be really careful.
Is there such a thing as windburn?
Yes, very much
absolutely.
so.
Okay.
It's very, it goes with hurting the skin just as bad. So you can sunburn, you can windburn, and the windburn, it hurts just like a sunburn. But what it's doing is it's pulling all of the moisture out of the skin, just like a sunburn would. It's just not, it's not putting the melanin and damaging the skin so much that it's making the spots. So it's not damaging the melanin, but the windburn feels like you just strip the skin of everything.
Right. So is windburn, for example, like if you go to the beach and it's overcast, the sun's not really out, but it's super windy?
Well, you're going to
that's
get
how you would get that?
Well, you're going to get the wind, plus you're going to get the UV rays that are still coming through the clouds.
Right.
And they're bouncing off the sand, and it's still reflecting on your face. So you're going to have a double whammy because you don't really expect, it's cloudy, but you're getting probably more because it's bouncing off the clouds, bouncing off the sand.
Yeah.
They're doing research, but it's so esoteric.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, just put your sunscreen on.
Right.
But windburn to me is more like, how you get like a burn on the skin or chapped, like when your lips are so chapped, that's what windburn, like I think of as windburn, like the skin is chapped. Like your hands get rough in the winter, like if you live somewhere super dry like Colorado, all the moisture is just gone.
But even so some of our super windy days when people go to the beach and the wind's like really, really crazy,
Yeah.
it will feel just like,
A sunburn.
And I asked because somebody had told me that they had gotten windburn at the beach, and I was like, is that really a thing?
Yeah.
And then, I later found out, it was overcast. It wasn't even sunny out, and they managed to get burnt, and they were like, it's windburn, and it was bad. It was like raw.
Right. If you ever want to see a perfect example of windburn is after we get a hurricane here in sunny Florida, is go by and watch some of the leaves that have been windburned from the actual hurricane.
Wow, that's so
and
interesting.
they dry up and they go away, and that's the
Because the wind pulls all the moisture out of the leaves?
Pulls all the moisture out of the leaves, and the leaves die.
That's
so
interesting.
It's a perfect example
Ooh,
of what
new.
it does to the skin.
Yeah.
Really?
So another one was chocolate causes acne.
Chocolate does not cause acne per se. What does cause acne is that you're eating sugar and you're also eating dairy. And both of those in their own right can upset the hormonal levels of the skin. And in people that are younger, you're also dealing with a higher oil output. So it can increase the oil output because you're playing with the sugar, you're playing with the dairy and the hormones. So somebody who has, the 12 or the 11-year-olds to the 18, you're looking at those higher oil production times. So when you're eating sugar, when you're eating dairy and you're not supposed to, that's when chocolate will rear its ugly pimple head and give you this fabulous pimple.
So what else causes acne?
It depends on everybody's individual body. So what may cause acne in myself is going to be different for you and for Andrea because everybody's so different.
So why is it so common, for example, I don't know if it's puberty, but at a certain age,
like teenagers
go through that?
Because their hormones are going nuts. We have so much chemicals in our food, and they're not getting clean food, and they're not getting enough water. So without all of this, it's like the perfect storm to create acne because your body cannot process all the toxins. So it's dumping everything into the skin. Some people will have it on their face. Some people will have it on their chest. Some have it on their backs. If you've ever seen, even you can cause acne in just about anybody with steroids. So a steroid user will use acne, but it's causing the acne because the liver cannot, and all of the different processes of detoxing can't get rid of all the toxins.
So it's just toxins coming out because the skin's an organ. We talked about that on one of our previous episodes. And it's the body's way of dumping that out to get it out. Right. But with teenagers as well, like there is an element of they may not be cleaning their skin well too, but it is because that's a myth. Is that a myth or is that true to some extent?
It's kind of like half true, half not true. The cleaning and the cleansing is something that and I won't say American mothers, but like pretty much like in the European countries, teaching your child or teaching your daughter how to take care of their skin is a big deal. Korean mothers are nuts about making sure that their children really understand how to cleanse their skin from like very early time. American mothers, over here we're not such good, so much about it.
Well, it's funny you mention it because Isabel started getting into her facial routine and she was loving it and doing the wash and the cleanser and the whole thing. She just, I don't know, it made her feel like an adult. Mm-hmm. And so I had mentioned it to my mom and my mom's like, she's too young to be doing that. Mm-hmm.
No.
And I was like, that just doesn't
not
sound
at 14.
Right.
No.
I mean, she started at 13.
I really would start them actually, I would start, both little girls and little boys when you're really talking to them about teeth cleaning and washing their face and everything else. It needs to be at the same time. So that younger age,
that's just a little.
But you're teaching them the really right way. I mean, I see little kids with blackheads on their nose at 7 and 8.
Wow.
Because of all the stuff that they're eating and all these toxins are coming out instead of the healthier foods they're eating.
And then they're not washing their face at all, so it just builds up and
Correct. And they have all this dead skin and oil, which is the perfect climate.
So that's another, I think it's a part of a myth, but because you see if you go to any store, Target, wherever, Walmart, whatever, the thing that they sell for acne care is like salicylic acid wash, or I think you mentioned it before, like the witch hazel toners. Mm-hmm. And those are very drying because they think you can dry it out. But that's a bit of a myth, right?
It's a myth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And benzoyl peroxide is another ingredient that's stronger.
Yeah.
And it depends on the levels of salicylic or the levels of benzoyl peroxide. And not only are both of those acids trying to dry it out, but they're also trying to kill bacteria at the same time. There's a place for them. Mm-hmm. And when you're having somebody who you don't know what the skin is actually doing, You don't know whether it's really, do they really have super oily skin? Do they really have, dry skin? And you can tell as a young child what skin type they actually have on whether or not they should be on benzoyl peroxide or salicylic.
So it's really only if they have on the more oily side.
Correct.
But if they have the drier side,
you may need it every other night or not every night, because drying the acne out is not going to fix the acne.
because it's really just drying the skin out. It's not
correct.
addressing the underlying problem, which is probably mostly diet.
Well, diet, and once you start with the diet, you also have other things coming. You have bacterias, you have strep bacteria, you have all of these bacterias that are now being spread all over the skin. So they pop one pimple and here comes the other one, because you're spreading everything.
The bacteria.
The bacteria.
So for somebody who does have acne or suffers from that, is there anything that they should absolutely not be putting on their face, like toner, cleanser, moisturizer, sunscreen, makeup?
Well, there's so many acne-causing ingredients in so many of the products today that the mass market is there to sell products. And I'll say that, like, respectfully, they're there to sell products. Whether or not your child gets acne from them, they don't really, that's not a concern. Even some of the ones that say non-comedogenic or non-acne causing will have ingredients that actually cause acne.
Right.
So my best recommendation, if you're trying to buy something and you're trying to buy something over the counter, is to research the back of the ingredient label and see if there's anything in there that causes acne. Because most of the products are actually perpetuating the problem. In makeup, it's really a big deal. I can see somebody who's 14 years old and I can tell you immediately, the blush they're using is causing their acne, because you can see where they applied the blush.
There.
Right there, right on
So
this right edge.
yeah.
Or I can tell whether they're using something on their lips that has wax in it, that in lip stuff has beeswax and all kinds of waxes because they want their glossy lips.
Right.
And so you can see automatically, they have all this stuff all around their lips. Oh, that's what's causing it. And automatically hey, you need to stop, using this. But, it's getting them to moving them to a different routine of something that's cleaner for them.
Right.
And makeup's the worst. And makeup brushes are...
I was just going to say makeup brushes, because I'm guilty of this, that people just don't clean them enough. And they get all the bacteria, and then it makes you break out because it's clogging pores.
And as a teen, you go, I'm going to pop this pimple. And then you have to put the makeup on it to cover the pimple.
Yeah.
And then you're like, the makeup brush just got on the bacteria. And now I'm going to, I just put it down and I didn't clean it. So it perpetuates this whole cycle of bacteria.
But do you have to clean the brushes daily? If you pop a pimple, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
They really should be cleaned daily.
And there is a way to pop a pimple correctly.
Oh, yeah.
But most people just have no clue.
No.
So what's the best way?
Preferably without your fingernails. That is a really big no-no because of the bacteria, whether you believe it or not. And long fingernails are even worse, but they hold a lot of bacteria.
Sure.
So if you're going to use anything, I really suggest to the teens or the adults, you go get some gauze it's not gauze like you think of, that is it's non-woven is what it's the name of it, but it has a texture to it that allows you to push on the skin without hurting the skin. It ends up being that you're pushing on the pimple and you're helping to, and diving in on it will not make it go any better. You need to come from one side and the bottom and push a little, and then go to the other sides and push a little. And if it's not coming, don't keep on pushing on
Right.
it.
It's like watching Dr. Pimple Popper.
I
Have you ever
cannot
watched that?
watch that
Oh, I
show.
love it. It's
Cannot.
so fascinating.
Isabel could watch that all
Me
day long.
too.
I can't.
That's why she's my 14-year-old bestie.
I'm obsessed. I watch, like, when I can't sleep, I just watch Dr. Pimple
I
Popper.
know, it's
God.
so fascinating.
I would not be. I would have nightmares.
No,
it
it's
is
so
nasty.
interesting.
No, it was part of what I do. I mean, it's
Right.
part of it. Because if you don't get the bacteria out, everything becomes more bacteria spreading. And
But there's some major.
oh yeah,
It's
Of
not
course.
just a pimple on the face.
correct.
It is.
See, like the big giant ones, like on the
Oh
back or the
my
scalp or
gosh.
whatever. Those really aren't pimples. Those are like a cyst.
Yeah.
The ones that are crazy are like when they get such crazy blackheads. Like those are wild to me. And you see a lot on like social media and like Asian cultures, which is crazy because like Korea, you're right, is so well known for their skincare and how
Yes.
obsessed they are with skincare.
That's why they look so young.
They are so obsessive staying out of the sun.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we need to take note, Carolina. But one last question on acne, and then we can go on to other myths. But like we know adults get acne. I mean, I've had it, and so I've gotten cystic acne before, and I really do think it went away for the most part when I greatly decreased my dairy and cleaned up my diet. The interesting thing is I've been eating dairy again, and it hasn't come back. I've had some along my jawline, but that's hormonal, is my understanding, primarily.
It can be hormonal. Here's my easy way of knowing. So if it does not come to a head at all, it's something you ate.
Really?
If it comes to a head, it's something that is coming from the outside world. So that's
Wow.
usually if you're getting a blackhead and you have blackheads, those blackheads are coming from oil from the outside of your body, but also it's being pushed by hormones, and it can be made worse, the oil, from internal from what you're eating. But when you have a bump that has no head, it hurts like heck.
That's the cystic, where it's like the big.
It's a big, and anybody
Yeah.
can get it. That's coming from something that you ate.
So
and it's
interesting.
either like 3 or 4 days prior of you eating something, and your body, like to the dairy question, sometimes your body just becomes better acclimated to be able to handle certain things.
Well, I wonder too now because I've lost so much weight, like maybe because it's, like before I was eating a lot more cheese than I'm eating now. Like what I'm eating now is a lot of cottage cheese because of the high protein, and it's easy, convenient.
Right.
And I'm trying to eat more protein. And so I'm wondering if it's because it's not like such of the high fat of like cheeses and because my body's less fat, like literally maybe my body's able to process it better.
Or also the cheese industry in the United States is not exactly known for,
Clean.
and cottage cheese is going to be a little bit better than.
Yeah, and I'm religious about
cheese.
buying organic cottage cheese,
Okay.
which I'm not always about cheese. I'm pretty good, but sometimes you just want a brie and they don't have an organic brie, But I don't eat
love
that very
brie.
often. I know. Nancy's good. She doesn't eat any dairy.
Toothpaste will kill a zit.
Or
I
Windex.
can't tell you how many times. Yeah.
Windex from my
the movie.
big fat Greek
Yeah,
wedding.
That was great.
Yeah.
Toothpaste, no, doesn't do anything.
No. It might dry on your face,
Yeah.
and it might feel like it dried something up.
Right.
Feels
which
tighter.
Feels tighter, but it's not doing anything.
Okay. Well, good to know now. I'll stop doing that. Let's see. You can shrink your pores.
Pores are not doors.
Okay.
What you're seeing when you want to shrink your pores, when somebody goes, oh my gosh, my pores are so big, it's because but they've allowed oil to fill up those pores, or they're eating a diet that's causing congestion. So the congestion, like you might eat cheese and you might not have a breakout, but your skin is getting congested, which is a whole different animal, and you can see it differently when you're actually looking under a mag light. So you're seeing it differently, but the congestion from eating it is causing the problems too.
So I had a cousin who had really, really bad acne, and he would constantly pop, and it was almost like leaving holes, and it's like he had holes everywhere. And I don't know what he did, but he did something. He took something. He put something in his face. I don't know if it was medication or what it was, but it did get better. Like when I saw him, years later, I didn't see the big holes anymore. So is that possible?
It is possible. There you can do peels you can do microneedling. You can do things. What ends up happening is the pores open because they're filled with oil, or the pores you see are the damage that is done because of the pustule or the papule or whatever it is from the acne. So it could be really a scar.
Okay.
Microneedling helps tremendously with getting rid of those scars. And then over time, what ends up happening as the skin regenerates, if you're using good skincare, you can help alleviate the damage that was done. So I don't know if he did that. I mean, there's things that are out there today. There's a lot of prescription medicine that is like easily handed out to me that are for people that are not really, but for that type of acne,
Right.
really the pores.
Oh, like Accutane or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's a gnarly. That is a gnarly prescription, isn't it?
Yeah, and I really feel so like adamant that there's should be an age limit on it because who they prescribe it to and how it's prescribed is so. I see so many people that are like 45, 50 years old, and they have Accutane. Oh, I'm on Accutane. I'm like, what?
Really?
And why? Because it's not like the oil is being just sucked right out of their body.
Because they're addressing the issue, not the underlying cause. They're addressing
the problem, not the symptom.
Right. The symptom, not the problem.
Correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you a question since you mentioned peels, because my sister has done this a few times. And after seeing her, I'm like, that can't possibly be good for you. But she gets something done where it's very painful and it almost looks like she's got third-degree burns on her face, and she can't leave the house for like a week, and she's in a lot of pain. But it takes, I don't know, skin off or whatever.
And there's grades of chemical peels, and you can go from low to high depending on the chemical peel that you're looking at. I personally am not a fan at all because of, number one, the downtime. Number two, the risk of infection. Number three, the fact that the skin that is being rebuilt, because you have to think of it as if they were in a fire and they were actually burned.
Right.
Because that's exactly what was done, and that's why it's so painful. So it's like they were literally in a burn unit in a fire. So the new skin that's coming out has to be nourished. And most of the time what I see is they're not being given the right tools to regenerate the skin. And it also is, once you have that burn, you start thinning the skin. The older we get, we don't want thinner skin. We want thicker skin.
So she might suffer the repercussions later on in life
Correct.
Because of that.
Correct. The people that do, they might have done, 20 years ago, they were doing really heavy peels, super heavy. The higher, the better. 50%. Let's do, 40% TCA, and there was Jesner's, and there was all these different ones that were, and people were doing it like it was like, I'm just going to be down for a week. And I'm like, are you guys crazy? But, it's like people are going to do what they think they want to do, and they're listening to people.
But I think I actually had a family member do that, and this was years ago, and it actually discolored, like, along her jawline where they did the peel or whatever they did. This was super light, and then this was way darker because like they took so much off of this,
Right.
the face, like, and it was not good.
Or they will take used to take a tool that looked like one of those old-fashioned lawnmowers, and they would go across and they'd do the dermabrasion to get rid of the lip wrinkles because everybody was smoking like crazy back then. So they were doing those dermabrasions, and so these women would have these white upper lips, and the rest of the skin would be dark.
Right.
The chemical peels like that, to me, I would rather be gradual and consistently gradual, and you can get the same results. In fact, I personally think you get better results if you do it gradually over time. It's just that we're in a culture that wants instant.
Right.
And the problem with doing the massive peels like that is not only are you not getting it instantly, you're, to me, getting a worse repercussion long term.
Right.
It's how I feel about lasers too. Because lasers are the same.
And they're not all created equal, for
No.
sure. Like you can do, because this is like my last question. We'll wrap up here, but my last question for you is, because this has been around for a while now. Of course, it's, the famous family that starts with K in Hollywood that did the vampire facials. Like, and now what we're learning is that actually is damaging the dermis at the deeper layers where do you know what a vampire facial is?
No.
So it's where they do microneedling, microdermabrasion, but microneedling, and you get pinpricks of blood all over the face. Yeah. And it was super popular because of our friend Kim. I'm joking.
Right.
But that was like the cutting edge for a minute in Hollywood, right? And now, literally now, like in the last probably couple weeks, coming from you and my sister, we've learned that, and you've been doing this for a lot longer, you do micro needling, but you do not go nearly as deep where you never want blood. And so that's a myth I think a lot of people don't realize.
Well, and my reasoning and rationale for it, anytime somebody said something was, okay, tell me, how is collagen? Is there collagen in our blood? I would ask them that question. They were like, well, no, there's no collagen in the blood. And I'm like, well, is there? And because the doctors that, and it came from the medical community, they were saying that in the blood, there is certain not chemicals, but there was certain oxygen and the carrier of the
platelet-rich plasma or platelet-rich fibrinogen or fibrin.
They were saying that all of that was helping to rebuild the collagen and the elastin, and I'm like, that doesn't make scientific sense to me. But if you say so, I'll go with that. But it doesn't.
And that's the goal. Like, that's what I think. Maybe we hear it, but that's the goal, is to rebuild collagen.
Correct.
And so that, I think, gets a lot of times out of whack, that's what we're trying to do with all these lasers, peels, whatever, or even fillers. Fillers are different. They're trying to add volume, but those are not creating collagen.
No.
Sometimes the PRF was supposed to, right, and the PRP was supposed to, but we don't. Now we think that they're not, because you're taking it, if you're taking it from my body, you're taking 40-something-year-old blood that may not be as good. So now what they're doing, it is more with exosomes, right? And that is showing to build collagen.
Correct.
Yeah. And the other thing I'll say about fillers, and you can chime in on this, is fillers, we know, they can do the dissolve, if you don't like it, and it migrates.
Right.
So you can put it here, but all of a sudden it ends up down here, and you don't want it here, and you get these pockets that look terrible on people.
Oh, I just had a 77-year-old client this morning. This is, I'll try and know around.
We're good.
Okay. I had a 77-year-old client. She was going to meet her daughter, watch her daughter's graduation from, I don't know, law school or something like that. And she was going to see her ex-husband who had cheated on her with a girl that was in his graduate studies that was 16 years younger. And so she had all of this anxiety, and she had gone and had spent $1,500 on fillers, and they told her it would last until May. And all the fillers, because she metabolized everything so fast, all the fillers were gone completely. And so she was in this desperate mode of, I've got to look great, I've got to look great, and what am I going to do? And it's such a sad state of listening to people trying to get an answer, trying to do something just to build up their self-worth and their self-esteem to be able to walk in a room and do that whole thing. And I think we spend a lot of time doing that, but it's that it never goes away.
Right.
Is what
I mean, you get she wants to look good. I 100% understand the humanity of that. And at the same time, like what you said that is so important is you never know how your body's going to react to that filler. They can say this is how it is, but you don't know you're going to react different than me. And one plastic surgeon I follow, and he does like very different plastic like facelifts and stuff. You know who I'm talking about. I won't say his name, but he does very different ones. But he says, he's like, they'll inject the filler dissolve. I forget what it's called, whatever they're doing. And he's like, that filler's still in there. He's like, it actually does not dissolve it. So this is a bit of a myth that you can dissolve filler. Oh, if you don't like it, we'll just inject this other chemical and dissolve it. And he's like, it doesn't dissolve. It is in there.
No.
Because he peels back the tissue and sees it.
I had a client that was from Germany that for years, she was such a beautiful lady, and back in the early 70s, she had done silicone injections because she didn't know any better. And it ended up actually killing her in the end. And what had happened was 20 years later, she had an allergic reaction
to the
silicone because it was in her body, it was in her face, and they tried to do surgery, but they couldn't get it all out.
Right.
And it's just, you just don't know what your body's going to like go, I really hate this. And, like I know that fillers are big money for people.
Yeah.
Huge. But at the same time, it's like you have to be really conscious of what is it that you're putting in your body.
Yeah.
And what is it going to do?
Well, next time maybe we talk about how to naturally build collagen in the body.
Okay.
That
sounds like fun.
But so 2 more thoughts I have, and then I want you to ask your last myth because you have one more, right?
I have one more.
Okay. So that's one reason why so many women are getting breast implants taken out because they've had like leaky breast syndrome, or there's another one and I forget, but basically their body's rejecting the silicone or the breast implants of whatever nature that is. And a lot of women have had like significant autoimmune problems, and they've 100% trace it back to the breast implants.
Correct.
That's funny that you say that, because just this past September, my mom, my sister, and myself got them taken out. And it wasn't because we were suffering. We were just, this is preventative. Like we were hearing all of this and we're like, you know what, let's just take them out now before we have problems in the future.
Yeah. It's really interesting when you dive into what women experience that have gone through that. Like some women have been completely debilitated.
Right.
Like they are non-functioning.
Right.
And all the doctors told them they were crazy. And finally they got a doctor to say, yeah, it's your breast implants. Let's take them out.
Wow.
So, yeah, we should do some stuff on that, too. It's very interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting. So my last one was vitamin E helps scars fade.
Okay. So here is the vitamin E myth. Okay. First, if the plastic surgeon that you're going to is really on top of their skin game. Okay. So I'm going to say that. So a dermatologist and a cosmetic dermatologist, a plastic surgeon, they can be really good at what they do. It doesn't mean they have skin game. Okay? So to me, it's when you have skin game, you know how the skin functions and you understand how it heals and you understand what's going to help rebuild to actually make no scar or very little scar. So part of the whole scar part of this is actually putting pressure on the scar to actually push the scar down so it doesn't rise above the skin. So there's a pressure part of this.
So like right after they are closing up the incision, they should put some sort of pressure bandage on it.
Right. And the ones that you see that are really on their skin game are using, and it started kind of with the butterflies, but it has really, really amped up now to where you'll really see that they're closing with and sometimes they'll use like almost like a silicone that is not a topical, but it's a almost like a pressure thing, like you would put on the thing that is held on by an ace bandage almost to make sure that pressure is on that area. So pressure helps with the scar as long as it's started to close. Vitamin E will not fade all by itself.
Okay.
It is a triangle of vitamins that work the best. Vitamin A is at like the top of the triangle. Vitamin C is over at one side, and vitamin E is over at the other. They work symbiotic all together to really master healing the body.
Okay.
But it also means that you need proteins, amino acids. You need all of these things to help rebuild the skin to make sure that that scar dissipates into the body.
Internally and externally.
Correct.
Right. So, like, you have the perfect aminos, right? That is amino acids that anytime you're trying to heal a scar, you should be taking, like, consistently. And we always tell people we have a post and post bariatric drip as well as a post surgery drip, and it's full of the vitamin C, glutathione. We can't do the E and the A, but you could do that topically or orally through oral supplementation. But the C is so important because it promotes the production of collagen in the body.
Right.
So,
but it doesn't, everybody thinks, oh, I just got this vitamin C serum. It's phenomenal. Well, it's great, but by itself, it's good. When you have vitamin A, C, and E together, the whole trio is what is just really good.
So you guys have a product that has all that in it? That's so interesting. I didn't know that.
The Environ skincare line is out of South Africa.
Yeah.
Was created by a guy named Dr. Daz Fernandez. And he first started doing cleft palate surgery and started using the vitamin A to help heal the cleft palate on little kids. And he couldn't get it to heal properly, so he started developing his own vitamin A.
Oh, that's
And his own vitamin A was able to actually get the vitamin A to actually help heal.
That's very
cool. And
cool.
once he started really understanding how the skin worked, he added in C and E and peptides and aminos.
Yeah.
So now they really have different ones that really function, but it does great for scarring, especially for acne scars too.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, cool. So next time, let's talk about building collagen, and we can go more maybe into some of the cosmetic stuff.
Yeah, that would be good.
I love it.
Okay.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thanks.
We love having you here.
Fun.
Yeah, always fun. Thank you so much. And so be sure to
Stay tuned.